Welcome to another exciting episode of Chad Sports Talk. In case you don't know, my name's Chad, and we'll take a dive into world sports. This is my NFL Week 7 recap video. We'll kind of go over my picks and see how well I did and didn't do. And I didn't do too bad this week. I actually went 9 and 4. But kind of funny where I started off losing and ended losing. So I guess those primetime games I'm not very good at picking, but everything else I'm okay. Let's go ahead and just dive right into last Thursday's action, as I called the Band-Aid Bowl, where both teams got had a plethora of players on either injured or on the IR, especially Cleveland. Cleveland's mess was just, the list is just a mess. And I was going to give that one to Denver because I didn't think missing those pieces would help them. And it didn't matter, really. Who knew Cleveland had the mentality of next man up? Keenum was just effective in their game plan. Highlight of this was the Ernest Johnson, the third string running back for the Browns, who took this moment and ran with it literally. He had 146 yards with one touchdown. 146 yards against the Broncos defense, which you shouldn't really be able to do. Cleveland was effective enough. The defense stepped up and did what they had to do, and Cleveland walked away with a 17-14 victory. Let's start my week with a loss. Then we head off to Sunday. First stop would be Lambeau Field, where Aaron Rodgers played host to Washington. Green Bay, not very flashy, very methodical, just marched down the field, did what they had to do. Aaron Rodgers had 274 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. But one of the strangest things is the leading rusher for both teams was Tyler Heineke, the Washington quarterback. That was a bit strange. Another strange one was him running for a touchdown. Instead of just completing the run, he ended up going down. So he was giving himself up, according to the refs. So his knee was down before the ball crossed. So he didn't score then, and then they never completed the touchdown on that drive. So I'm not sure what happened there. And it's just one of those things. He had the room to make the run with not really being touched. So I don't know what he was trying to do, trying to showboat a little bit, but that cost him. All right, next stop is Music City, where Tennessee Titans play host Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs is a team that is definitely not living up to expectations that myself and a lot of other people put on them. I said the Chiefs were going to be, winning the Super Bowl, and right now I don't see them making the flipping playoffs the way they're playing. Like I said, the offensive line has been redone over the offseason. Mahomes is a trusted offensive line, and the defense has more holes than Swiss cheese. Tennessee was able to pick that apart in the first half, was up 27-0. That's right, 0 points so far with the Chiefs. But second half, the Chiefs defense started to tighten up. They're starting to fill in those gaps and start, applying the correct pressure and trying to give, the ball back to the offense. They limited Travis Henry to only 86 yards rushing. I thought he would have 150 yards to have himself a stellar game. They were able to stop the run a little bit. But Mahomes, I don't know what he needs to do. Because the Titans defense took away pretty much the deep threat, forced the Chiefs to run and play intermittent passing, which is not really their MO, and I think that's what the Chiefs have to start thinking. They have to adapt their offense to match what the defense are giving them. But it's something you have to untrain Mahomes from doing, and he keeps making really questionable passes. There shouldn't be him to do what he needs to do next week. Now they head down to Miami, where we had the Dolphins playing host to the Falcons. Both teams kind of not doing very well, not matching where they should be doing. And, I don't know what the Dolphins need to do to really make to a more comfortable, make the offense more advantageous. But the defense kept them in there, and towards the end, that's when things started to click for them. Um, the Falcons were trying. They literally tried to give the game away. Matt Ryan was escaping, and then the defense forced a turnover, which the then Dolphins kick a field goal, put themselves up by 1 point, 28-27. But at the end, it was just Matt Ryan can't find Michael Pitts, their number one draft pick. He was doing what he had to do, making some key catches. Matt Ryan was pretty good. He had over 300 yards passing with 2 touchdowns, but he led them to establish a game-winning field goal by Koo, and he didn't miss, and the Falcons escaped Miami with a 30-28 win. Then we have to New England, where the Patriots playing host to the Jets, and this was not even close. The Patriots just opened up a can of whoop ass and just took it to the Jets, and unfortunately, Zach Wilson got hit pretty hard around the knees, and he's going to be out for a couple weeks for that one. I hate to really see that one. Zach Wilson's one of those quarterbacks I was wanting to see progress as a professional athlete, professional level. So there's going to be a little setback for him. But, Mac Jones was just phenomenal. 300 yards, 2 TDs. Damian Harris had over 100 yards, 2 TDs. I mean, it was just a prolific attack by the Patriots. And this team is starting to roll offensively. But, of course, this was the Jets. So don't take too much into that. They had a very good performance, worked out a lot of the other Kings. Let's see them take on some really tough teams like, Buffalo, and see how that one plays out. We had the MetLife, where the Giants, with Giant Jones back in charge, taking on the Carolina Panthers, who are without McCaffrey. I thought the Panthers were able to beat the Giants. The Giants had other things. And it was just, I don't know. The fact that the Panthers don't have McCaffrey, their offense has just flatlined. They can't do anything right. They even benched Sam Darnold and put in P.J. Walker. And if you don't know who P.J. Walker is, he was a star of the Houston Roughnecks back in XFL 2.0. But, nothing seems to be working right now for Carolina, so I don't know what they need. May not be a quarterback. They need to find another running back to help electrify this offense. But the defense couldn't do much of anything either. So, that first half was a baseball game, 5-3. Really? How that's not a football matchup. I didn't know this was the 1920s. But Dana Jones and the G-men did just enough what they had to do, and they beat Carolina 25-3. Next was the game of the week, Cincinnati going to Baltimore. I thought, these two would go at it, and they'll go back and forth. It'd been a great matchup between these two. But the Bengals have a defense. I didn't think they had a defense. They were able to contain Lamar, do things they had to do. Joe Burrow went off, 416 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase had 201 yards in the TD. 201 yards on 8 receptions. I think Jamar Chase is going to be, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I gave that distinction to Najee Harris in the beginning of the season, but I'm going to change my mind, and I'm going Jamar Chase. This man cannot be touched. He broke like 3 tackles and just ran. How are you physically able to do that? At the end, it was just the Bengals running attack was just too much. They had 2 Mixon, and I forgot who the other guy was, just broke away tackles for touchdowns to put this game well out of reach at the end, and the Bengals routed the Ravens 41-17. putting the rest of the NFC North on notice and don't count out the Cincinnati Bengals. Out in Vegas, the Raiders were playing host to the Eagles, and this was a very slow game to start off with, but then Vegas just kicked it into gear, went up 30-7 at one point. I mean, they were just dominating, and towards the end, that's when the Eagles start putting up points. But it's just always seems to be the case lately with these guys. It's just Jalen Hurts can't do well first part of the game, but then he picks it up at the end. And I guess pretty much in garbage time. Carr had over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and it wasn't even close. Even though the score looked deceiving, but the Raiders were well ahead at this point, and they were able to hold on 33-22. And then the revenge game. I mean, it's the best way to label this game. The Rams hosting the Lions. So Stafford's going against the Lions. Goff's going against the Rams and his former head coach. So he wanted to do something. And I think the head coach wanted to give Goff some revenge. And the Rams were pulling off all the stops in the first quarter. I mean, their opening drive, Swift was able to break free for a touchdown. Then they did an onside kick. Totally shocked the Rams. Then they did a fake punt where they threw for a touchdown. Or threw for a first down. Which totally shocked them. But that drive only ended up 3 points. So you can't do that with the Rams. You have to put up touchdowns. You have to put 7 points up at a time. You can't go once down 3, put up 3 points. But, there's just too much of the Rams defense that really kind of helped shut things down for the Lions. Lions, for the first time, actually started off great, so they weren't playing catch-up. But the engine just ran out of gas, and they just fell apart towards the end, and the Rams were able to escape. The Lions, 28-19. Then the undefeated Arizona Cardinals play host to the Houston Texans. J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins are taking on their former team, and it wasn't even fair at all. J.J. was having fun. Kyler Murray, another outstanding game, 261 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. They welcomed Zach Ertz into the fold where he scored a touchdown. So it's just Arizona is a very scary team right now, especially next week where they'll have Chandler Jones back, so their defense will be even more terrifying. Now you got JJ stepping up. You got Chandler Jones as well. That's the 1-2 punch for that Cardinals defense. But, that's next week's game. And this one is like, it wasn't even close. And this is the first ever score of this magnitude in NFL history. 31-5. No other time in NFL history has a game ended 31-5. And what's all these weird scores? And then we go down to Tampa Bay where the Bucs play host to the Bears. I thought the Bears defense would give Tom Brady a little bit more fits. Not so much. Tom Brady didn't have a lot of passing yards. But he still threw four touchdowns for 600 career touchdowns. Congratulations to Tom on that feat. Godwin had over 100 yards receiving, and he received one of those touchdowns. Mike Evans had one of those touchdowns. Then he caught the 600 TD ball, then he gave it away, but they were able to get it from the fan. I'm sure the fan got a few bonuses like signed jerseys from Tom Brady and Mike Evans. But, yeah, this was not even close. The Bears' offense was just pathetic. They couldn't do nothing. The Bears' defense just in the first half, it was over. I think the second half, it was just garbage time. They didn't really care. And 38-3 was the final. So see what happens with the Bears later on. But, yeah, that was a horrible, horrible game. And then on Sunday night, he had the Colts visiting the 49ers. This is when I thought this is going to be the one Carson Wentz is going to hang his hat on and move forward. And Jimmy G came back. He was under center again, but this was a rain-soaked game over there in Santa Clara. And it was one that kind of went back and forth, so it was definitely a very good matchup, to say the least. So the passing yards weren't all that great. That's because it was raining, so they relied heavily on the ground. Defense had to do what they needed to do. But it was like towards the end where Samson was trying to drive, and then Jimmy G tried to, throw a pass, and it just slipped out of his hand, basically, as he let it go up top. You can definitely tell he didn't get the proper release. It just kind of flew out and went for an interception, and that was it. That sealed the game. Nothing against, the 49ers. The 49ers needed this one bad to stay in pace with the Rams and Cardinals, and unfortunately, the NFC West, who I thought was going to be the best division, is starting to separate between the has and has-nots. As but yeah, it's one of those games that things just kind of went the wrong direction for the 49ers, and the Colts left Cali with a 30-18 win. Then off to the last night's game, epic showdown between Saints and Seahawks. Both these teams need this win to keep in pace with their division leaders. So the Saints, is unfortunately playing the same division as the Bucs, and right now the Seahawks have the Cardinals and Rams do extremely well in front of them. I thought Geno Smith would get his first win as a Seahawks starter. It started that way. Geno Smith threw to Metcalf, who broke a tackle, ran it all the way down, and early in the first quarter. But beyond that, it's pretty much a defensive showdown between these two teams. And it's something you gotta expect from both the Seahawks and Saints. They have reliable defenses that are very hard to score upon, very hard to move around, and but Kamara was the factor for the Saints. 51 yards on the ground, so the Seahawks got to contain him that way. But he's just one of those dual threat guys. You take away one aspect, and he's going to go in another way. And Winston doing another thing where this is the fourth game as a Saints starter. He had 0 turnovers. This is going to be key for the Saints moving forward for the rest of the season. If he can maintain that type of level where he has no picks, unlike what he used to do with Tampa Bay, they are going to be a very, very hard team to get past, especially the defense is playing the exact same level they did last night. They pretty much gave the Seahawks all they could handle. It was an epic game, pretty much 10-10 in the fourth. I mean, this is what you expect. You might expect a few more points. You probably would have if the Seahawks kicker would have made 2 field goal attempts. But it's also raining in Seattle, so it could have been a little slippage there. But, the Saints, the Seahawks also get away with some really stupid penalties. Pretty much, targeting on Winston for a sack. I don't know what that Seahawk was doing, coming from behind and launching himself right at the head. You cannot do that. That can just lead to so many different issues. So that was a dumb penalty right there. And then the Seahawks actually stopped them. They were about to kick a field goal. But the defensive line, Twitch, jumped over and gave them a first down, which led them to burn more time off the clock. Still kick a field goal, but now the Seahawks had only 2 minutes. And that's when the Saints defense just came alive and gave Geno Smith 0 chance of making anything. They were in his grill constantly and not on that final possession. And the Saints were able to escape Seattle. 13-10 victors. It's like the first time in a while since the Saints went 0-3 at home start of the season. So it's one of these things that, Seattle needs to work some things out. Russell's still going to be out for a little while. So then you really need to get things on. The same thing. And the Saints, they still haven't have Thompson back, or Thomas back. Once he gets back, the Saints could be a completely different team as well. So that was definitely a fun game last night as well. So, like I said, I went 9-4. The first game, last game, I really didn't think Cincinnati would do what they did against Baltimore. I definitely thought Carolina would actually show up, but apparently, I guess not. So we'll kind of see next week goes. So I'll make sure to get that video out to you on Thursday before kickoff of the Packers and Cardinals. That's going to be an epic showdown next week. So to find out, a lot of people are kind of waiting. We'll wait and see on the Cardinals if they're that good. They're that good. And then there's other fun matchups next week. Steelers and Browns. It should be an interesting one to find out which one. See if the Colts can beat the Titans. Right now, it depends on which version shows up. Patriots and Chargers should be an interesting showdown. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Cowboys, Minnesota. And then Monday night, sneaky good one. Be the Giants and Chiefs. Which Chiefs team shows up? And just let me know what you think. What game was you most excited to watch? What game you look forward to next week? I mean, like I said, there's some key matchups, including the Thursday night matchup. Let me know below. Leave a comment while you're there. Go ahead, smash that thumbs up for me. Give me a like. You can also subscribe. Once you subscribe, you hit that bell notification. Until next time I post a video. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.